Good morning. Good morning. Apologies for being late. Rough start this morning, but I wanted to hop on and give a quick little something. Um, Millennials and Boomers, that's the title of this video, right? I think we need to move away from these labels of boomers and millennials and just accept that astrology is real, it exists, and there is proof that it does. And that study that was done about astrology isn't real because I looked at horoscopes and they matched different people that weren't that sign is a little oversimplified. If you follow astrology, you know that you're your sun, your moon, your rising, your Venus, your Mars, your Mercury, all of those things take into consideration you as a person. Also, where your house system is, how you grew up, right? If we start to think about generations in terms of Pluto, that's another controversial topic, but if we start to think about generations in terms of Pluto, we can get a better understanding about how generations behave, what they need, what they come here to change, to regenerate, and better understanding of each other. First of all, Pluto, scientifically in astronomy, not astrology, many people think that years ago they said Pluto wasn't a planet, so it's not a planet anymore, and I don't have to think it's a planet anymore. But knowledge is always changing, guys. Science is always changing. History is always changing. Whenever we make new discoveries, whenever we find new dinosaur bones, whenever we find new scientific discoveries, that is going to alter the information. I wish I could find where Neil deGrasse Tyson talked about this, but there is a huge debate in the scientific community over whether Pluto is a planet or not a planet. So just because you read an article that NASA didn't deem Pluto as a planet a few years ago doesn't mean that that information is the end all be all of information, because after that was concluded, after they said, turns out Pluto doesn't classify as a planet, there were many scientists who said, actually it does, and here's why. And I am not a scientist, so I can't get into the nuances of that, but you have Google, so if you want to look that up, then you can. But basically, there is no definitive answer on whether Pluto is a planet or not. So saying that, oh, a few years ago they said it wasn't, so it must not be, that's not the end of the information. It's not the end of the story. Some scientists, some astronomers still believe that Pluto is a planet. But even if it wasn't a planet, a lot of people in astrology use minor asteroids to make these connections in our personal makeup, in our. A lot of people think that this new agey stuff is solely for predictions, but a lot of it is processing your trauma, reprogramming your mind, maximizing your potential. And yes, astrology can predict a lot of things, but it it's not as cut and dry as you would think, because there are many different interpretations for many different placements, and astrologers are always learning, right? Like I was talking about Pluto, it's not a definitive answer. I will never know all there is to know about astrology, and no astrologer will. We are constantly learning, we're constantly updating our knowledge, and things are constantly changing. So, if an astrologer thinks that they know everything, that's a red flag. That's a deal breaker, ladies. But anyway, let's get back to Pluto. So Pluto is the planet of transformation, of regeneration. Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. So Scorpio is about going deep, dark, into the depths of hell and then coming back transformed, right? It's about turning coal to a diamond. Hi there, I'm talking about Pluto right now. It's about turning coal to a diamond, about turning that sand into a pearl, right? So that pressure that we feel, that intensity from Pluto, comes back up and transforms into new life. That can mean compost, right? That trash that we had decomposes and fertilizes the plants for new life. So when we think about this in terms of generations, then and when we also acknowledge that Pluto is a planet about sexuality, so let's think about sexuality. You build up all this pent up emotion, and even if you're a guy, you have emotion in your sexuality. You might not label it as that, but we can see it. It's emotional. And if you don't get laid, you turn violent and angry. That is emotional. So, with our sexuality, our emotions build to a certain peak, right? And we need to release that. So the sperm, it releases into wherever it goes. And some sperm will die. Some sperm will plant itself into an egg, and then new life is formed. So that is regeneration, right? You have released something. They also call orgasms little death in France, I think. So it's like a part of you has died. That energy that has been pent up, that has been building, has died and then is transformed into new life, right? So when we talk about Pluto in terms of generations, this is an old way that has died and then a new way that is being reborn, right? So Pluto is the planet of transformation. It is the planet of inheritance, right? Inheriting from the previous generation. And there are so many, like, I feel like I could like talk about this forever. I've wanted to do a Pluto series. Series are a lot of work, but you know, I wish. So if you want me to do a Pluto series, give this a thumbs up and I will try to work on it. But if we look at epigenetics, which is the study of epi is on top, it's like the notes of your DNA, basically. So studies have shown that if we experience trauma, then that's a note on our DNA. And we can pass it on to our children. So when we talk about untying ancestral karma, that's part of a Pluto modality, right? Is to take the notes from past traumas of our ancestors, of our parents, grandparents, anyone in our family that we inherited that DNA from, and sort of rewriting that script, right? Anywho, so if we look at boomers are Pluto in Leo, and millennials are Pluto in Scorpio. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on Plutos in other signs. I'll touch on it a little bit, but boomers and millennials are the big, like, clash, right? Millennials have destroyed the diamond industry, the housing industry. We have destroyed all markets, right? We are very powerful and can bring into all of the things you built, right? No. So both of these signs, Leo and Scorpio, are deal with themes of power. So when we talk about the power that a Leo has, Leo is ruled by the sun. That's the center of the universe, right? Like, they are inherently royal. They are, and both of these generations are entitled to that power in different ways. So Pluto and Leo energy in general just thinks that, like, they deserve things as like basic human rights, right? They deserve luxuries, they deserve prosperity, opportunities, to live out their aspirations and all of that. And at its best, those are they're right, right? Like, we do deserve to live out our highest potential on this earth, just being ourselves, right? But the problem comes when we have Pluto and Scorpio. Scorpio is about what we inherited right? So we talked about DNA, but Scorpio can also be other people's money. Scorpio can also be taxes. It can be bank, like interest on bank investments or bank loans. It can be debt. So this is sort of Scorpio has the potential to either grow your wealth or to diminish your wealth from being in too much debt, right? So if we think about the Pluto in Scorpio generation, these are people who inherited a system that was not lasting. It benefited generations before them, but what we inherited was not. A lot of us are in student loan debt. I don't know if I'll ever pay off my student loans. I've been paying for a while now, and the balance hasn't really gone down that much. I don't know if it ever will. So you can be as responsible as possible and still be indentured to these systems that were not created by you for you. I remember feeling a lot of pressure to get student loans, and I didn't quite understand loans and debt, and I didn't really want to take it on, but it was just something that was expected of me. It was something that my mom wanted me to get into. I don't know if, looking back on it now, I don't know if debt and credit are her strong suits. But, as a kid, I mean, I was just a young kid, so what did I know? But, I could have saved. I was a good saver. I could have saved more for college. I could have applied to different scholarships. So, I'm not totally, I could have done better, I guess, right? But still, this is a system that, because Scorpio is about inherited power, the Pluto in Leo types are not willing to get rid of their power. They are entitled, they feel entitled to that power, right? They shine so bright that they were successful, and anyone who can't do the same is somehow not just not good enough, right? And doesn't deserve that power. And if you look at really old, almost boners, really old boomers who really should not hold office just because they need to be in a retirement home, right? It's like they just need to. I'm not gonna say fade away because elderly people do serve a purpose. But if your mental faculties are failing, and you're like 100 years old, you can just like not run for reelection, right? Let the younger generation step in. But because the younger generation didn't inherit all of this wealth, it's very hard for them to get that power. And like I said, these two generations are both entitled. But Scorpio feels like they are entitled, but it's because they had been paying into that system because it comes off of Libra, right? Libra is an equal balance, right? A mutual relationship. And so whenever we move from Libra to Scorpio, this talks about a power imbalance where things became codependent, right? You could be codependent on debt. You could be codependent on the nuclear family model, right? The picket fence, having a house, home ownership, all of that. Even if that's not your particular lifestyle, right? House in the suburbs, a car, even though like you might not even care about cars, right? So there was a codependency there that those systems started to fail. Pluto and now my hair. Now my bangs, they were cute. Now they're getting all crazy. So those systems that were set up a lot by Pluto Leo types who just thought like the best people will benefit from this system and screw everyone else if they can't, rise above their conditions. So as we moved through Libra, we started to see that system fail because um, people became codependent on debt. People became codependent on jobs that were exploiting their productivity and not giving them the profits, not giving the workers the profits that they deserved for putting in that effort, for putting in that time. So, yes, Pluto in Scorpio is entitled, but it's like we were like playing along with your system. we were we were going along with it. So why isn't it working for us? So why can't we buy a home? Not only that, not only debts, but the wages haven't risen much. The minimum wage is still something like the federal minimum wage is something like $7 an hour, which is insane. It should at least be double that. But you know, this country works really hard, and then whenever you aren't able to reap the benefits of a system you're paying into, you have to kind of question, like, well, why? So, Pluto in Scorpio, the last time, Pluto is one of the slowest generations. Pluto is one of the slowest planets to make a rotation around the sun, right? So that's why it's a generational planet, because I think it's like almost 20 years, maybe, usually. Uh, I was on a roll, and now I have hit the wall. I have hit the wall. Oh, so the last generation that was Pluto in Scorpio, because it takes so long and there's 12 signs to make that rotation in. The last time you had a generation that was Pluto in Scorpio was the founding fathers of the United States. And that was very revolutionary, right? And Pluto is the natural ruler of Scorpio. And that's Scorpio at its best, at its finest, is to revolutionize the whole system. So when you decry millennials for whatever industry they're destroying, we're actually building leaders of the French Revolution, also Pluto and Scorpio. Don't quote me on that, but I know that the American Revolution was definitely led by many Pluto and Scorpio types. So this is to, those were people who were tired of being under the thumb of a king, right? Being under the thumb of someone, in power that would never like pass on the throne, that would never give them power, right? They wanted religious freedom. They wanted financial freedom. And some of the ways in which they went about getting those things were toxic, right? Colonialism, all of that, imperialism. Totally get that. But at the same time, they created a really like progressive, never been done before, transformational government that was democratic, that was like equal, so that everyone had the opportunity to get personal power, right? And they weren't under the thumb of some king that just had inherited this power, and too bad, so sad, you're not part of the monarchy. So, I am really proud to be a millennial. I'm really, I get really excited about transforming these systems. I know it's not going to happen overnight, but if you are but if we look at other generations, they reflect the sign of Pluto as well. If we look at Gen Z, Gen Z is Pluto in Sagittarius. So, they are more silly. They are more in politics. Sagittarius is religion, philosophy, all of that. But I mean, Scorpio can sting, right? And Pluto and Scorpio, millennials, we can sting. We can be mean. We can be assholes. I understand. I get it. But you have to understand what kind of bullshit we had to deal with. Not only like the financial stuff. I also think that we have reformed just like lifestyle, culture, the broken paradigms, just like nuclear family, religion, right? So we've transformed a lot, and Pluto and Sagittarius, they don't really like, they didn't have to deal with all of the hard things that we had to deal with. They didn't have to deal with like there was a commercial like 10 years ago about, it was an anti-smoking commercial, and basically it was like two boys and they go into a bathroom, and then voiceover was like, are they gay or are they smoking? And it was like, what the hell? Like a commercial like that would not happen today, but that's the kind of stuff we had to deal with, and that's the kind of stuff we had to transform. So, yes, Pluto and Sagittarius, Gen Z people are more carefree, but they didn't have to deal with all that bullshit that, sorry for the language, that Pluto and Scorpio had to deal with. So, but I am hopeful for the Pluto and Sagittarius folks, because I think that's a new wave of like indigo children, and just people who are see like the broader picture of things. So I'm excited for that transformation. But when we think of, let's see, I'm technically, so we have Gen X. Okay, so Gen X is the other generation that is talked about. And I think Gen X is very misunderstood. A lot of people will say that it's the forgotten generation. Part of that is because Pluto and Libra. Libra is the other. Libra is the partner. I am a Libra. I often feel this way. It makes me sad a lot. But I often feel like people don't really see me, that I'm like there for them, but they're not there for me. Very unequal partnerships, even though like I strive for equal partnerships, but I rarely ever get it. So they're the forgotten generation because they're trying to keep the peace. They're trying to do what they're supposed to do, but they're not seen. So they are essentially living out their Pluto generational theme, right? And I also think a disadvantage to categorizing generations as boomers, millennials, rather than their Pluto types is Gen X also deals with, they do feel forgotten, but I also feel like there is a variation within them that is not discussed because they are forgotten, but they're actually broken into Pluto in Virgo and Pluto in Libra. So my mom, she is like an early Pluto in Virgo. And so she's not quite a boomer, but you look at her and you think she doesn't really feel like Gen X either, because like my twin flame, he is Pluto in Virgo too, but he was at the end of Pluto in Virgo. Actually, Pluto went into Libra very close to when he was born, but then it retrograded back into Virgo, and then his Pluto is direct, but it went back through Virgo. So he was like late Virgo, early Libra. And they're just two separate people, right? I look at the value systems of my mom, and she still has that Pluto in Leo, those notes on her DNA, right? Those epigenetics on her DNA that were meant to be rewritten. She still has aspects of bootstraps and I deserve this, but she's not quite Pluto in Leo, but she's the early form of Pluto in Virgo. Pluto in Virgo is service, routine. So she definitely, both my parents, I think my dad is Pluto and Virgo too. I'll have to look. But um, they were all about like, I and this is what I'm supposed to do. So it was like the service they provided, right? And they were in customer service, oddly enough. um, I think a lot of that industry, I think the customer service industry in the US boomed from Pluto and Virgo. But then we get to Pluto and Libra, and um, I see them more as like what's coming to mind is like Kevin Smith types, more artsy. And if you look at like my twin flame, even though he's still Pluto and Virgo, he's moving in Pluto and Libra, and he has more of that artsy feel to him. Pluto and Libra is also divorce, to be honest, because you were talking about transformation, and Libra is a sign about marriage and partnership. And so we had to go through a lot of divorces in order to rewrite those epigenetics, in order to rewrite our karma to pave a new path. And so I also want to do a video one of these days on divorce. I don't believe divorce is terrible. I think it's like a natural thing, and it like it's part of your karma, and it ruins your family tree basically. But yeah, I am a Pluto in Scorpio, and I clash with Pluto and Leo. But I don't care if I clash, because my purpose as being born in this generation is to transform this system. I do want to say about Pluto and Scorpio, though, if you are a millennial, um, I talked about how we can sting, how we can be mean, how we can, be have the Twitter fingers, the keyboard fingers, where we like fire off and pop off. And I'm definitely guilty of that. And having a lot of Scorpio placements, I have a Scorpio stellium, I have Scorpio in, Mercury in Scorpio. So when I feel backed into a corner, I can sting you, I can be hurtful, I can say like really penetrating, like damaging things to you, and just like take you down. And we are known for that cancel culture, right? But at our best, form of Scorpio to go to the depths, go to like the deepest, darkest places. That's also why we have a lot of stuff coming out about um, like Epstein stuff. Those really dark parts of our society. Scorpio is able to go into dark and extract that out and bring light to it. So I would encourage, if you have Scorpio placements, if you're a millennial, if you have Pluto in Scorpio, to sort of, especially we're in Mercury retrograde in Scorpio now, so this is the perfect time. I would encourage you to like take a few seconds, not sting, not like write that like is ultimately cruel and hurtful, and try to think of a way to transform what you want to transform, to bring light to what you believe is dark. Because I do understand that we are dealing with a lot of very harsh of being born into this generation. But we also have the potential, because we are Pluto and Scorpio, to bring light to all of these dark systems. So now that Pluto in Sagittarius, the Gen Z generation, is grown up enough, I think now is the time to focus on the more angelic aspects of Scorpio instead of the devilish aspects, right? We can be both because we rise above, right? So let me know if you liked that. Again, if you would like me to do a Pluto series, give me a thumbs up and let me know. But I will see you tomorrow. Love ya. Bye.